Welcome to the greatest show in the
Whoosh.
history of media. This is Village Vice. He is Zach Blackerby. I'm Brad Law. And today, Zach, Tuesday, April 9th, 2024, Auburn made it official. Starting in 2025, it's a Nike school for a decade. What do you think?
I love it. I love it. I'm not like as passionate about this as some other Auburn fans are, but just selfishly, I didn't like Under Armour. I don't like Under Armour products. I don't have many, if any, Under Armour things. I do have Nike clothes, and I just selfishly, I like Nike products more. But I think the thing that impacts Auburn football, basketball, baseball, whatever sport that you pull for the most for the Auburn Tigers, seems like from an equipment standpoint, this is something that a lot of players wanted. I kind of get the vibe coaches are cool with whatever. It's more about what the players want.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a text from two different players shortly after this became official, and they're stoked. They're beside themselves. They're so fired up. So to me, that's really all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, give it to me. A decade of Nike, I'll take it.
I have nothing disparaging to say about Under Armour, the company or the products. Everything I've ever owned Under Armour has been terrific. What I am for is whatever's positive for Auburn and whatever gets Auburn excited and fans excited and whatever is kind of a positive groundswell. I'm a fan of that. And this does seem to, in just the short time since the announcement was made public, that's exactly what this seems to have done. So I would imagine Facebook Marketplace is going to be flooded in the near future, and we can all look forward to that. There'll be no shortage of stuff out there, and and the timing is great too. Like the day after the college basketball national championship game, the sports world starts to sort of settle in just a little bit before portal season kicks into high gear. Then there's this news. It was really, really well timed and quite frankly, well executed from a multimedia perspective too, the way that Auburn did it.
Yeah, Auburn has some really big names that kind of transcend their respective sports.
Yeah.
That are affiliated with Nike. I mean, Bo Knows is iconic.
Yeah.
It's iconic. And then obviously Charles Barkley's relationship with Nike. And then, they kind of flex Tim Cook in the group chat as well with John Cohen and that video that they put out there to announce it. I think they did a great job with all of this. And the writing's been on the wall. Like there's been smoke, there's been chatter around this. And the timing, like you said, it's not by accident. You'd have to assume it's not by accident. It's also going to be kind of another arrow in the quiver of this coaching staff when they jump into the portal to kind of bring back some talented guys that'll be here. I guess it doesn't go into effect until July 2025. So I mean, we're still over a year away till we actually see this switch. But
it takes that long, by the way. It takes that long to do your equipment orders and make sure inventory is available and all that. That's just how long it takes. And it also runs the current contract to its completion. So nothing is cut short.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of legal stuff and then logistics as well. So, I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense.
So how much do you think it matters on the recruiting trail? Like how much does it matter to guys with NIL, playing time, pro prospects and things of that nature? How much do you think the apparel actually matters to the guys that are playing? Not from a functional standpoint. That's a separate discussion, but just the name and the brand itself.
Yeah. I think it matters probably in some sports more than other. Nike basketball seems to be a big deal. Some people are really into that. And so I think it's going to help Bruce Pearl more than anybody else. Hugh Freeze was asked about it a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he was kind of dismissive of the whole thing. He's like, I don't think it's really, had much of an impact on recruiting wherever I was. So we'll see. The fact that a player texted me a GIF and I'm like, I'm just want to confirm this is about Nike. And they're like, yes, this is going to help Auburn with recruiting a ton. So the players like it.
Well, that
specific player said recruiting when I asked them what specifically was this GIF about. So, yeah, I think so, Brad. Don't you think?
He sent you peanut butter?
Nice.
It's a GIF. The word
it's the guy who created the type of file.
What does it stand for?
GIF. I don't care what it stands for. The guy who created it calls it a GIF.
Okay. I'd like to have a word with him. That's how bullheaded I am.
Here's another thing.
Yeah.
Brad. Here's another thing. And I'm a little testy about this because we learned this week, but this is now a peanut-free household.
Really?
The adjustment's been tough. I'm not going to lie to you.
I'm very sorry.
It's okay. We're still waiting for like some official results, but that was a tough realization. No question about it.
So all nuts, like no almonds, no peanuts.
Well, we haven't tried, to be fair. Like we haven't tried. The whole peanut butter situation was pretty scary. So
okay.
Yeah. So we'll see. But right now it's GIF, but only of like the graphic.
Yeah,
type nature.
Graphic. It's not called a graphic. It's called a graphic. Therefore, it's called a GIF. There's no other shortening of a word that we use where we change the pronunciation of the word. So it's a GIF.
If we launched this show, Brad, and we decided we're going to call it Village Vice.
Yeah.
It would be called Village Vice. There might be people that made fun of it in the comments section and say, no, it's Village Vice.
Is it a Shug Jordan situation? Like, well, it looks like Jordan. Yeah, but they pronounce it Jordan, so it's Jordan.
It is Jordan.
Yeah, it is. I know.
Because that's, right. And so if it's Village Vice and they're like, no, it's Village, it's like, we may have not spelled it perfectly.
Yeah.
But that's what it's called. And I think it's that situation here.
Okay. I will buy, you know what? I'll give you that. I will relent. I will yield, and I will give you that. And from now on, forever and ever and always, I will call it a GIF instead of a GIF.
You don't have to call it the correct thing. I don't care. I'm just stating my case. That's all.
That's it. I want to be accurate. You know, we try to always be accurate on this show. And that's what we're going to do.
We try. We don't always get there, but we try. Yeah. Any other thoughts on Nike?
Excited to see, we always get excited about new things. We love new, and that kind of will lead into the next subject too.
Totally.
And it will be exciting to see what new is presented. We got a lot of new currently in Auburn athletics. We got a lot of new around college athletics in general. So new schedules, new game times, new apparel and equipment. And we're going into this new time. I think my final thoughts probably go back to Auburn's athletic director, John Cohen, who this is another, you can call it timing, like the Under Armour deal was up. So what was going to happen? But I think you can mark this under the category that John Cohen is going to get stuff done. He's a guy of action, and a lot of people will give him a ton of credit, and rightfully so, for getting this deal done. There are a lot of things we don't know about it yet, and that we'll find out in the months to come. And that part is exciting as, we keep unveiling new pieces.
No question. No question about it. Will it put Auburn in a better situation to compete? Maybe. I certainly don't think it's going to hurt. I certainly don't think it's going to hurt. All right. Who are some guys that would make sense to enter the transfer portal? We'll discuss in just a moment right here on Village Vice. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at mybookie.ag. MyBookie is, it's like the biggest sports book ever. There's so much stuff, and you can just get lost in there, Brad. Mm-hmm. Cricket, video games. There's all sorts of stuff there. So if you're interested in something, you're probably interested in a lot of sports if you're watching the show. But if you're interested in anything that's maybe more niche, boy, do they have you covered. Head over to mybookie.ag. Use promo code NEXTROUND. You're going to get some extra money deposited into your account, some bonus bets credited to your account, courtesy of our great friends at MyBookie. And once again, head over to mybookie.ag. Use promo code NEXTROUND.
Braves, by the way, 130 on the money line to beat the Mets in tonight's game. And tie the series at a game apiece.
Yeah, they didn't last night. They tried. Boy, did they try. Yeah. And the calls at home plate were insane.
A little rough.
Insane. Marcell Ozuna, I don't know if he has a lawsuit, but he has every right to be upset. It was brutal. Brutal what they did to that man.
I don't think Marcell wants to have anything to do with lawsuits anytime in the near future. I think
that's probably a good point.
I think he'll stay away from that. He'll just take the call and go on and hit another home run sometime.
I'm a little feisty. Marcell Ozuna on my fantasy team.
Yeah.
He has just been destroying the baseball as of right now.
when did the Big Bear thing start?
I don't know. I don't love it.
Yeah.
I don't love it. I don't know when it started, but I do know that I don't like it.
Yeah. It's going to need to grow on me a little bit. Because my fellow Braves fan friends and I are going to be talking about him a lot in our group text this year. So we gotta figure that stuff out.
Yeah, no question.
All right.
No question.
So the transfer portal.
Next Tuesday, the 16th, my mother's birthday.
Well, what a special day. What a day to celebrate with
That's right.
a bunch of guys who are going to leave thinking they'll go somewhere else and improve their NFL stock. Don't you think, first of all, before we get into this, do you think that's the number one reason guys leave? It's to improve NFL stock? Expressly?
No, I don't think so. Maybe the top tier guys, like maybe the top 20% of guys, but I would say most. No, because of the 1,000 guys that are in the portal, it's probably going to be that much.
Yeah.
I mean,
they ain't all making
they may hope that, but like those guys aren't like NFL hopefuls. They may have people in their camp that are telling them that they are, and maybe they're making bad decisions because of that. I think we've seen former Auburn players make bad decisions because of the people around them. But for the most part, I think there's a bunch of different factors. Some people just may want to play. Some people may have had a really good relationship with a previous position coach and they're no longer around. And so they just kind of want to go through the recruitment process again. This is a prime opportunity for players to get a raise via NIL if they want to do that. So I think there's a bunch of different motives, and I think that's what makes this situation so complex.
Yeah. No, I think that's exceedingly well said. And it's something to,
thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brad.
Something to keep in mind when guys leave. It's not because they hate their school. It's because they have an opportunity either to play more when they just weren't going to play.
Yeah.
Maybe they've been told by a coach, man, I'm gonna get you 20 snaps a game. And you probably can get 40 or 60 a game somewhere else.
Sure.
And they want to do that. Or better NIL. Yeah, all those things that Zach just mentioned. I think that's good to keep in mind. All right. So coming out of spring, this is always a little bit of a tricky conversation to have. Who's going to stay? Who's going to go? We're going to find out in a week. But what makes sense?
Yeah.
And be it from what we saw at A-Day or probably more so the practices leading up to A-Day and just the state of the roster right now.
Right. And Auburn's roster is going to change next Tuesday through next Friday. Not everybody's going to jump in on the first day. And it's going to be like that for every team throughout college football. It's not just, this isn't just an Auburn thing, but we talk primarily about Auburn here on this show. Yeah. As far as guys that make sense.
Can we start at the quarterback spot? Because you had an interesting conversation, and I want to promote Auburn Daily and an article that you put out earlier on Tuesday with comments from an Auburn quarterback.
Yeah. Hank Brown joined me on Locked on Auburn. I asked him point blank, like, are you entering the portal? Have you thought about it at all? And he said, I haven't thought about it. So Hank Brown's not going anywhere. And we were all kind of under the assumption that it's Hank Brown versus Holden Geriner for QB2. That's really what it felt like throughout all of spring. So would it make sense for Holden Geriner to leave? I think it would. I'm not saying that he's going to, but I do think it would make sense for Holden Geriner to leave. I also think you can make the case that it would make sense from an Auburn perspective if they wanted Holden to leave, because then you have room to go get another quarterback, or at least have the option to go get another quarterback in the portal, which opens up a whole other can of worms, Brad.
Here's my question on that. Let me add two more layers. Does it make sense for Holden to stay if he's not the number 2? We don't know for sure what the final pecking order is, but
sure.
If he's not numbered, let's say he's number 3 and Walker's 4. Does it make sense for him to stay? And for Auburn, if it makes sense to leave, then who would they be bringing in? Would you bring in a 3rd string or 4th string quarterback? Would you bring in somebody else to compete for 2? Or would you want to try to bring in somebody else to compete for the number 1 spot? What role are you trying to fill with guys who go somewhere else?
Yeah. And so if we want to answer those questions, like that's probably the last topic of the show, because that second one is thick. That is thick. I mean, we could do 2 shows on that if we really wanted to. The first question is easy. Like, does it make sense for Holden to leave? It goes back to what we just talked about. Every guy has different things that they want to do and different things that are important to them. Camden Brown really, really nailed this point home throughout the past few weeks throughout spring. When he's like, hey, you're a guy who a lot of people, like, it would have made sense for you to leave. And he comes out and says, yeah, but I committed to Auburn and I want to be here. And like, if I can't figure it out anywhere else, like I want to try figuring it out at Auburn. It's like, hard to argue with that. Hard to argue with that in a day where like loyalty is so rare. It's really awesome when you see it.
I was going to say that'll endear you to a fan base real quick too.
Camden Brown won me over this spring. I was pretty critical of him going into spring. I don't care even about him as the receiver. I care about him the person. I want him in the locker room. I want him around this program. And I do think he took a step as a receiver too, which is just, icing on the cake. Yeah, totally. As far as
not all cakes are the same, by the way. Not all cake is the same.
Coming from you, that surprises me. I agree. But that does surprise me that you would say such a thing like that.
Okay.
So yeah, with Holden, it just depends. Like, does he love it here?
Yeah.
Is he fine here? I mean, yeah, great. Yeah. But is he cool being a backup quarterback? I can't see Holden ever starting at Auburn.
Yeah.
I just can't see that happening at this point.
Right.
And if he's okay with that and he wants to be, a guy who contributes in practice and maybe he wants to be a coach and kind of, pick Hugh Freeze's brain more and more and kind of learn from that and be a GA somewhere when he's done. Sure. Yeah. That makes sense. We don't know what Holden Garner wants.
Let's do offense today. Let's maybe do defense later in the week.
Okay.
Is that cool with you?
Yeah. Running back. I think Brian Batty would make sense to leave. He tested the waters in December. Everybody else I think will stay. But Brian Batty is the one who I think would make the most sense to leave. But he entered the portal and came back. Does he become more valuable if he enters the portal again? I don't know.
Did he return a kick on A-Day? Did they do kick returns on A-Day?
They didn't do. The only kicking game that it was field goal.
Yeah, that's right. Boy, did they do that. Okay.
They did a lot of it. They did a lot of that. Oh, Towns just hit another one. As far as receivers go.
Yeah, that's the really interesting one. And I think that's it's just logical that you have the most turnover there because you're bringing in the largest number of combination high school and portal guys already at that spot.
Well, and it doesn't sound like they're done based off of Freeze's comments after the A-Day game. He highlighted wide receiver and D-line as positions that they need more guys at. I'm going to name 3 guys that I think would all make sense for them to leave.
Okay.
I'm not predicting it. I'm not reporting anything. I'm just saying it would not shock me if these 3 guys entered the portal.
Okay.
Coy Moore. I'm not entirely positive what his graduation status is, but he already used his free transfer. But now, like some people, it's okay if they transfer again. So I don't fully understand the rulings on that. But if Coy Moore is able to leave, I think it would make sense for him to hit the portal.
Yeah. Okay.
Jay Fair is another one that's really interesting to me. I think the staff likes him. I don't know if it's what's best for Jay Fair. I'm genuinely curious about how Jay Fair, and that's just a name that I've heard a little bit of. It's like, keep an eye on him. And then Caleb Burton is another one. Caleb Burton's a guy I'm really high on athletically as far as a wide receiver, but as far as fit and all of that, I'm curious to see if he sticks around.
2 of those 3, and right, wrong, or indifferent, it's noteworthy that 2 of those 3 committed to the former staff.
Sure.
Burton committed to Freeze and his staff, right? He was an addition.
About a year ago. Yeah. Over the summer. Yep.
All right. So I do think that just in any situation, I mean, 90% of the time when you've got a staff that brings in the players they recruited and they built the relationships with, and they said yes to Auburn and that coach.
Yeah.
The roots go a little bit deeper than if they committed to a different staff. So
let me push back on that a little bit.
Okay.
Because I think big picture, you are correct. But every time transfer window comes and goes, don't you think it's everybody on the roster kind of opting in and saying, yes, I'm fine with the way things are?
There's a degree. Yes. Yeah, that's fair. I think there's a degree of truth to that.
Okay. Tight end, I don't think anybody leaves. I think this is the tight end room.
Yeah. Yeah. Fromm's already left, and he was the guy that, I don't think you lose anybody else.
The O-line's interesting.
I mean, is there a chance Mike O'Reilly is?
I think Mike O'Reilly likes it here.
I think so too.
He seems happy. And then
and
if I'm him,
his path is clear.
Right. You're the guy after Rivaldo this year.
Yeah.
And I think him and I mean, I am buying stock in Rico Walker too, but those two guys next year, like losing Rivaldo is going to stink, but it doesn't stink as bad when Mike O'Reilly and Rico Walker are kind of the next guys up.
So, sure. Yeah.
O-line is interesting. Like, would it make sense for a Tate Johnson to leave? Maybe. Like, he could probably play somewhere if he wanted to.
Boy, he loves Auburn, though.
I get that vibe too.
Yeah.
I get that. And once again, it's like we don't know what's important to these kids.
Right.
And so, if he loves Auburn, loves being here, okay, great. But like, he's never going to start over Connor Lew. And that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's just what's important to Tate Johnson. I'm trying to think if I've heard any other names.
And nobody else that's competing for a starting spot. You like, how much does it impact the team? I don't want to disparage guys, but how much sleep do you lose if you lose a third string or fourth string offensive lineman at this point, given the way they're recruiting and focusing and understanding the importance of the O-line?
Yeah, an O-line is like a lot of positions on this roster. It's old guys, and then there's a gap, and there's like freshmen and true freshmen. And there's not a whole, like, there's really not an offensive lineman outside of Tate Johnson and Jaden Muskrat that are older players that aren't going to be starters. But Jaden Muskrat's like your 6th or 7th offensive lineman. So like, he's going to play next year. I don't know if Tate Johnson is that, but if he loves Auburn and likes being here and wants to get his degree from here, like Hugh Freeze likes Tate Johnson. Like, he's got a spot. They're not going to process him. So it's just kind of, once again, everybody's situation is a little bit different. And this is a much more personal, personal thing where it's like, we just don't know. We don't know what's important to some of these kids.
Right. It's not one size fits all. A lot of different factors in it.
Yeah. It's not. That's right. That's right. Yeah. We'll do defense whenever we do a show again. Thursday, Friday, whenever we do a show again. So
perfect. I like it.
Brad Law, I think that about does it for today's show.
It does, Zach. Thanks everybody for watching, for commenting, for subscribing, for joining, for interacting with the show. However you do it, we really do appreciate you. And
GIF or GIF, comment down below.
Well, we've very clearly decided it's GIF.
Wow.
Like the peanut butter.
Wow.
I think people need to comment down below in what to do if you can't have peanuts in the house, what you do for that. Give us some alternatives. Give us some substitutes, some things that Zach can use in the household. Until next time, remember, everyone has vices. Don't let them tell you they don't. Everyone has vices. Make sure Village Vice is one of yours.